DJ and PK, it's time to welcome in Duane Rankin, Phoenix Suns reporter and insider for the Arizona Republic. Duane, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Everybody and everything moving from Phoenix to Salt Lake. I never thought I would say that, but apparently here comes a hockey team, and definitely here comes a basketball coach. Starting to see a trend here. I guess the first question for you is, we don't know Kevin Young at all. How well do you know him, and how much can you tell us about him?
Well, first off, he was the player development coach for Devin Booker. So that's the initial start to what he has been with the Suns franchise. He was on the staff when the Suns went to the finals in 2021. So that's proven in situations of coaching under Monty Williams. He had a situation where he came in and made an immediate impact. He's a young guy in his 40s. And he's got a little kick to him, too. When he was in the G League, I remember him getting into it with I think it was with another coach. It's on YouTube if you guys want to look it up.
I think it was Musselman.
Yeah, he got with Musselman. So he's got a little kick to it. He actually got into it, I think it was the Pelicans, in a game against the Pelicans when it broke out after Zion Williams had a breakaway three at the end. And then he was barking during the series with Denver last year on the sideline when Durant pushed Jokic away and Kevin was involved. He got it stuck his nose in that. So he got some kick. He's kind of laid back when you talk to him, but he gets after it in that sense. But as far as his ability to coach, when you've coached in the G League, all you got to do is look at the history of the G League of guys that have came through that and been successful, i.e. Nick Nurse, i.e. Taylor Jenkins.
Yeah.
Those are guys that made that travel to the league. And Kevin, he was making that trajectory. He had been on several interviews, been a finalist for several NBA head coaching jobs. So I think eventually he would have gotten one. But obviously the opportunity came to go back home. He's from Salt Lake, of course. The coach BYU, and he took it, a long-term deal. And, I think it's a move for him that fits in terms of him being back home and BYU, the coaches. When you look at Frank Vogel and James Jones yesterday just raving about what Young brings, I'm curious to see offensively what they look like because here in Phoenix, they ran pin downs and obviously movement. But you got one-on-one players here. So, it kind of bogged down sometimes with just get a ball to Durant and Booker and Beal and let them go do something. I don't know if at that level he has guys like that. So I'm curious to see what that looks like outside of if he has any of those plans in mind. But from what I've seen in him and talked with him, he's got an offense that's beyond what we're seeing now. And so I'm curious to see what that is at BYU. But someone that have been in the running, like I say, for a lot of NBA head coaching jobs. So BYU's got a good one.
So his specialty is offense, then? Yes.
Yeah. He's an offensive. He especially is an offensive coach. But I think, but I speak of just on the attitude part of him, being someone that's highly competitive. I speak on that just because I think that might translate on the defensive side.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty much what that is. Can you keep the man in front of you, have an idea of, hey, look, I'm not letting you score. And so I think that you might see that part of him come out on the defensive side of the ball. That's one of the reasons I bring it up. He and I have never went back and forth like that. So, but he has some kick to him, and I think that'll be interesting how that translates to the college level.
Duane Rankin, Phoenix Suns reporter and insider for the Arizona Republic, joining us here to talk about Kevin Young, former Suns assistant, now BYU's head coach. Obviously, when you go to coaching, you got to deal with recruiting. That's a different beast.
Right.
Maybe it's not quite as different a beast with NIL, but it's still a different beast. What kind of personality does he have? So much of that, college coaches have to charm the kids before they get them to practice and start yelling at them.
I think his demeanor will go over well with young players and with parents. Because, like I said, he's not when you're just speaking with him, when you're just talking to him, he's not not a loud, but he's commanding. And the other part of that, he can go in any house right now and say, I coach Devin Booker, I coach Kevin Durant, I coach Bradley Beal, I coach Chris Paul. I was on a staff that had Joel Embiid. Like, he can go and literally say that, and that'll get their attention right out the box.
Yep.
So when you're looking at just that alone, that's a good starting point. And then, like I say, when you're speaking with him, he has a real, low, laid back demeanor. Like I said, that has command. It's not like it's laid back and you can't hear him. It's like it's laid back, but he has a voice to him, and I've seen him recently at a practice. It was on a road trip and hit like 5 out of 6 threes. So he can get into some shooting competitions with guys and probably will win his share. So he can still play a little bit. Played in college a little bit, but he can still play. So that to me, that'll go over well too. If I'm 15, 16, and my head coach is splashing threes, I'm like, okay, that'll earn him some points with some guys. So. But again, he got to learn NIL, and he's got to brush up on that, because he's not going to officially start with BYU until after the playoffs. And if the Suns make a deep run, it's going to be time where he's probably going to be doing both. He's going to be doing both anyway, but it's going to be where he has to handle certain things for BYU, and then obviously do his job, coaching the Suns. So it's going to be a lot there, but he's probably getting a crash course on what needs to be done in that sense. So, it's going to be sped up probably faster than maybe what he imagined. But as far as players, I think he'll get along with guys well in terms of, and with families. I think that's obviously important. You have to connect with parents, and I think he'll be a guy that does that.
BYU fans, then, I assume, would be Minnesota Timberwolves fans to get Kevin Young on the job as soon as possible. And, I grew up in Phoenix, graduated from ASU, so I've been following my family, hardcore Suns fans, so I follow them, obviously, to an extent. And we know that they've had an up-and-down season, and They had 10 games that were tough at the end, and they closed 7-3, but one of those, I think they were down 50-2 or something. That's an exaggeration against the Clippers. But
that was against the Clippers, 35-4.
Okay, it felt like 50-2. And they got all this talent, and Grayson Allen's had a banner year and going to be financially rewarded. What do you think about their chances? Because they really haven't had any level of consistency. But maybe you can argue it took Beal all this time, and they're playing their best ball now.
Well, on top of that, they're playing a team that they've had success against in the first round.
Yep.
They swept this regular season series and won the games fairly convincingly. The closest margin was 10, and they held Minnesota to 87 points in that game. They scored 133 the first time they played them. This last one, they were up 22 in the first quarter. It's a bad matchup for the Timberwolves. Not saying Timberwolves can't win the series, but if you're just basing it off of what you saw in the regular season, this is a challenging matchup for Minnesota. So wouldn't be surprised if the Suns advanced. The next round would be either Lakers or Nuggets. That's a little more challenging, although the crazy part about that is that the Suns went 2-1 against the Nuggets, and they won the last 2 games against the Lakers after the first 3 games were within the first month and a half. They played their 3rd game against the Lakers in December. So they hadn't played them in a while, and the last 2 times they played them, they won both games. So you can make an argument that the Suns, if they play at their best, could make it to the Western Conference Finals. Or, because they've been so inconsistent, could lose in the first round.
This is such high stakes because they are paying so much money to some guys, and that Durant. I mean, I don't think he's going to be Tom Brady and at the top of his game at 44 and 45. So this is it. Now they said the right things. Are they really happy with him taking this job, or it's all business and the timing is what it is and everybody just rolls with it? Or is there a little bit, I can't believe he's bailing out on us right now. This is when it really matters. How's this going over?
I guess the way I look at it is, Kevin, he was the holdover from Williams' staff. And when you're the holdover, I mean, they paid him, for him to stay. He's getting more than $2 million a year. Obviously, he's getting much more at BYU, but they paid him to, and he's just he was a part of the transition. They're bringing in new staff, trying to figure out what to do, get their bearings together. Obviously, he was on the offense in that sense, but I don't think it's upset that he's leaving. Because he's staying with them through the playoffs for one, and then two, I think that Kevin was trying to get another job anyway. It's not like they were like, oh, why are you? No, he was already trying to get an NBA head coaching job. So when you're in this business, you don't look at it as, or you shouldn't look at it as, hey, why are you leaving? It should be, oh, okay, we did our part to help him get an opportunity to be a head coach. And so that's how it should be viewed, and I believe in a lot of respects that is how it's being viewed by the Suns. I don't sense them being upset. I hear what you guys are saying. They said all the right things yesterday. He's been great to us, and we're happy for him. And I believe all those things to be true. But I don't think I don't get the sense that they're upset that he's leaving. I get the sense that they look at this and go, okay, this is an opportunity for him to go back home and be a part of something and with BYU, and obviously this is a great time to go there considering what they're doing with the conference, and so this is an ideal situation in terms of him getting this chance, and there have been NBA assistants that have gone on to be college head coaches, so the move is not a shock in terms of when you think of it like that. So I don't sense them being upset at all, to be completely honest.
We know that the Brooklyn head coaching job was a possibility. We've heard Charlotte, and then Ainge in his postseason wrap-up mentioned that he had interviewed Kevin for a potential spot with the Jazz. So that's at least three. It seems like momentum was moving in the direction of him becoming an NBA head coach. With that in mind, whether it was this year, next year, or whatever, do you have any level of surprise that he said, I'll take the college head coaching job?
If it wasn't going back home, yes. But okay. I think that draw, I think sometimes people, I'm not speaking of anyone specific, but I just think sometimes people don't realize the importance of being in a familiar surrounding. That can make you, look at opportunities that maybe you wouldn't look at anywhere else. And I think that's part of it. And then there's also usually this window for guys, that are getting these interviews and getting these head coaching interviews, and there's a window that like a year window, maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 4 years. Jay Larnega is a perfect example. Like, there was a time when he was an assistant in Boston, his name was out there for every head coaching job. And then up until recently, he was out of that window. So there was a window right now for Kevin Young. And he could have stayed and probably got another opportunity, interview. He could have stayed and did that. But But also, look, I mean, if you just look at, teams and things of that nature with the league, when you see how it changes so quickly, there's something also to be said about stability. And based on what I've, heard and about the contract at BYU, there's some stability there. And so, he's got a family. So there's a lot that goes into, okay, I'm making this decision. And I think that a lot of factors led into it outside of being a head coach. So you have to take all those things, I think, into account when you look at, why wouldn't he stick around and try to get an NBA head coaching job? And if he does well at this level, that might be there for him later. So it isn't like that door is shut now because he's coaching college. That door is still going to be there because people will look at him and go, he coached X, Y, and Z, or he coached in the NBA number of years. So that's not out of the realm of him getting back in because guys have done it. They've coached the NBA, coached in college,
right,
and back to the NBA. So
and he's got age on his side.
Yeah, he's not. I love him for it, but he's not Greg Popovich age. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
He's this guy is. He's this young guy. I mean, so he could easily be right back in. And I think it's good for him in terms of it's your show. He's been running somebody else's show. It was about time for him to start running his. And, he and I have recently just talked about that. It's like, is it time? This was like maybe a week and a half ago. When we just talked, I was like, hey, is it time? Is it time for you to, is it? And he wasn't, like, yeah, it's time for, no, he wasn't saying that, but, he was just kind of, nodding like, hey, it's time. And clearly him going to BYU is an indication of that.
He's Duane Rankin, Phoenix Suns reporter and insider for the Arizona Republic. Duane, we appreciate a few minutes, and if you hear of anybody else in the world of sports moving north to Salt Lake, give us a heads up, all right?
I'll let them know. Talk to you guys first.
All right. Thank you, Duane.
All right, guys.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Is it a family affair with Kevin Young? Yak just retweeted something. We will get to that next. Stay with us.